Will 2023 be the year you finally was it? Will 2023 be the year you finally buy a house? Are mortgage rates pulling back? Is your window of opportunity finally opening up? The most important thing is, will you be ready? Tonight, guys, we have a special guest and we are going to go over everything you need to know to prepare your credit to buy in 2023. What's going on, guys? My name is Min Win with What's a Mortgage. Welcome to our channel. The goal of our channel is to simplify home ownership. If it's your first time tuning in, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe or notification button so you are notified every time we go live or post new content. We go live every Monday night on Facebook and YouTube at 9 o'clock, and we post our content daily on Instagram and TikTok. If you're not following on us other platform, please go ahead and do so. Okay. So tonight I have a special guest on who's going to break down what you need to do to buy a home with good credit in 2023. I have Fica Siddiqui from Brighter Future Credit Consulting. So she'll be on today. So if you have credit questions, bring them on. What's going on, Fica? How you doing?
Hi, good, man. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I really appreciate you coming on. I know a lot of our viewers are trying to buy a house or thinking about buying a house by the end of 2023. I think that's when rates will really pull back, which will make it a little bit easier for most people to buy a home. So, of course, I wanted you to come on so we can go over what people need to do to prepare their credit to buy in 2023. So tell me a little about, let everyone know a little bit about yourself.
My name is Fica with Brighter Future Credit Consulting. I've been helping people fix their credit for over 20 years and helping Min's team for maybe over 5 years now, I think, right, Min?
Correct. So how did you get into the credit business?
On accident, but I love it. I love what I do.
All right, cool. So with your is it your company? Tell us about the company.
So it's franchised. Our sister company is in Arizona, and I started with them in 2013.
Okay, awesome. So I wanted to ask you. So to prepare yourself, let's say people want to prepare their credit to buy in 2023. What are some of your suggestions to get your people's credit ready to buy 2023?
I would say, don't run your credit if you don't have to. I think that's very, very important because every time you run your credit and get denied, your scores drop. And if you're just trying to get credit cards that you don't really need, you have all those inquiries that you don't really need. The other thing is, if you like to use your credit cards, great, but try to keep the usage at 9% or lower because that's going to help give you the best credit score. Because you don't know, if you're there house shopping, let's say you are driving by somewhere on the weekend and you see this house and you fall in love with it and you weren't planning to maybe look for another 1 or 2 months, but now you just, stop by, you fell in love, you have to have your credit ran. Well, if you always want to be in the best place possible, these are some things that the recommendations that I'm making that you can do to always have the best credit. You know, don't run your credit if you don't need to. Keep your balances at 9%. And the last thing I'm going to say is pay your bills. I know that sounds crazy, but just pay your bills on time. The biggest thing, biggest thing. And even my husband does it, drives me crazy. He'll go to the Kaiser and say, "Oh, yeah, bill me later." Yeah, when you ask for a bill later and you don't get that bill, guess where it goes? To collection. So just pay the bill. It's like a $10 copay, or it's always those little things that get you in the end. But it could take away 50 points sometimes from your credit report. That's a lot of points. If and it could change the interest rate that you're going to get, which can make a difference in your buying power.
Another thing I wanted to ask you. So, is there any edge? Like, I heard strategies where people talk about paying their credit cards twice a month or 5 days in advance. Like, how does all that work? So, let's say, first of all, so how do you think? How are people going to find out where they stand before they buy them in the year, or how do they know what to work on?
So, answer your first question is you call the credit card companies and find out what their reporting date is. And if you pay your balances down before the reporting date, you will have the best credit score you could be at. And your second question was, how do you know where you stand? I would say, Experian.com is a great website. It's free if you just have Experian only on there. Credit Karma, it doesn't really show the accurate credit score, but it does show you accurate account information.
Mm-hmm.
So, any one of those websites to kind of see where you stand. And then you can always reach out to myself and I
Mm-hmm.
could do a free review for you just to give you an overview of where you are and if there's anything that you need to do or not do, or some things that, I can give you, some pointers on things that you could do to help yourself.
So when you say pay your the thing you said earlier regarding pay your so if you, let's say you find out everyone, I'm guessing every creditor posts at a different date. So is it
Correct.
the date? So there's two dates I know. There's the date it ends and the date you make the payment, right? Which date are you
Right.
talking about?
So I'm talking about the reporting date, the date that the credit card company actually reports to the credit bureau. So there's a reporting date and then there's a due date. Sometimes the reporting date is after the due date and sometimes it's before. More 9 out of 10 times it's before. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
find out what the reporting date is, what date they're going to report the balances to the credit bureaus, and that is the day that you want to try to bring your balances down to the 9% so
Mm-hmm.
that you can always have the best credit score possible. So, for those of you out there that like to max out their credit cards because they love their points, you could still take advantage of the points, just pay it down before the reporting date. So before those high balances report to the credit bureaus. I know there's a lot of stuff out there online that says keep it at 30%. So 30% is a good number to have
Mm-hmm.
a good credit score or an okay credit score, I would say. But if you don't have the best credit score and you need to be in a better place, 9% is the magic number. That's where you need to bring it down. So just for example, if you have $1,000 credit card, you shouldn't go over $90, period.
Okay. So I want another trick I wanted to verify with you. People are talking about asking for increases in limits so the utilization stays lower. But then people say, well, some creditors do run your credit, some of them don't. What do you recommend? Let's say I want to buy in December. What besides paying it on the before reports? What do you think about that trick?
Yeah. So, yes, asking for an increase is always good. However, if you are looking to purchase and they're running your credit, I would say don't take the risk, especially if you're borderline with your credit score or if you get a denial. There are companies that won't run your credit or do a soft pull.
Yeah.
Now, what is a soft pull? A lot of creditors, oh, it's not a big deal. We're just going to just soft pull. Well, it's going to be a ding on your credit because there's an inquiry on there, period. So a soft pull or a hard pull, the only difference is soft pull is one bureau instead of three bureaus. That's only, difference between it. But there's an inquiry, you got something on your credit.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not running your credit and they're just doing it based on the relationship, go ahead and take the increase.
Yeah, I had that with Best Buy where they just went straight off of I've been making my payments on time. I didn't know it and I asked for the increase. They're like, oh, we don't like don't do you have to run, like, you're not asking permission to run my credit. I'm like, oh, we don't have to run your credit. You've been making payments on time for X amount. Let's just give you the increase. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and just an FYI, when you sign an agreement with a credit card company, in some of their disclosures, or most of them, it already you've already waived your right, and you've already given them authorization to run your credit as they whatever their what's the word, whatever their agreement says or whatever their contract says, it says it in there how often they're going to run it or if they have the right to run it. They're always checking up on you. So if
Mhm.
you think that they're not, you're wrong. They have a right to look, and that's why in 2007, and if there's going to be another market change huge like there was in 2007, a lot of these companies are going to look at your credit cards and they're going to reevaluate your relationship. And so I want to, also another thing that you could do, if there's credit cards that you haven't used for a long time, I would say 6 months to a year or whatever, every credit card company has a requirement on how often you need to use these cards. And if you're not using them and another, something happens, with the market, or something happens with your credit and they do a review and you haven't used it, they could go ahead and decide to close that account. Now, if they close that account, that could cost you, I mean, I've seen it 50 points, 70 points, 20 points. But if you just have at 640 and you're just barely qualified, you cannot risk an account closing. So, don't open any cards if you don't have to. Don't close any cards. And again, you guys, the information that we're giving is very general. Um, you know, it doesn't pertain to one specific file.
Mhm.
If you want me to review your file, I'd have to take a look at it and tell you exactly what to do. But these are just general things that we're talking about.
Wow. Okay.
There is
Cool.
a
So,
lot of gray here. So we're just talking black and white right now. Okay.
yeah.
But there's a lot of
So I
gray.
know now. So I know now.
Yeah.
Make your payment before the due date. Ask for the increase. Make sure there's no inquiry. So I'm getting that. And then and then so another thing is so when someone runs their credit and they want to buy a home and they see collections, everyone wants to know how long does it take to get these collections off, or should they even pay them off? And of course I see some collections on there over 7 years. It's stuck on there. What's your definition on these collections? If I want to buy at the end of the year, I know I can't leave it in what do you call it, litigation, or I can't leave it in dispute. What do you do? Like, how do you attack these collections?
Again, it just really depends, but anything over 7 years, they can't legally report. Number one. The first thing and foremost is, remember, everyone, nobody has ever signed a legal contract with a collection company. So if they call you, write this down. You can say this legally. Thank you for calling. I don't know who you are. Please send me whatever you're claiming in writing, and I will reply to you in writing. Okay. Never admit it because they don't have proof. 9.9 out of 10 times they will not be able to prove that collection is yours. That's the first thing.
Wow.
Second thing I look for is how old it is. Is it collectible? Can they come after you? Are they going to sue you? And then I look at the amount. So, with all these factors, I will then, you know, based on that particular collection and your credit profile, advise you on if you should pay it, not pay it, how to. Min and I were just talking about this. There is such thing as a deletion letter. I've seen them, Min's seen them. Some people say they've never seen them, but there is such a thing. Unfortunately, sometimes when you call to pay collection, they tell you that you'll get one, but you don't get one. So it's very important, if they have promised you a collection letter, get their name, ask them to notate the account, follow up with them, because who cares about your credit? You do. And if you're not doing the follow up and you're not,
Wow.
asking for the deletion and you're not asking them to notate your account, that's when you call back, they're going to have a different story to tell you,
Wow.
unfortunately. So if you pay a collection and it's not deleted, it will lower your credit score. Again, 9.9
What?
out of 10 times.
Why would they lower your score if you paid off the collection?
Because it re-ages it, and so it's going to lower it. And even if you pay it, it's still going to be there. So when you run credit, you will still see that collection. It's not going to disappear just because you paid it. That's a misconception that a lot of people have. Like, oh, I paid it, now I don't have to worry about it. That's why I say, if you have a collection, please call me first. Talk
Mm.
to me. I'm a professional. Talk to Min. He knows. I know. Let us advise you properly on how to handle that collection or that debt.
So are most collections to get the deletion letter? How would you get? Do they have to pay off the debt, settle half the debt? How would someone negotiate a deletion letter? Like, what are the creditors looking for to get that deletion letter?
Okay, so first of all, I would say call me first before you do that, because I'm not advising anyone to pay a collection. But if you do need to pay a collection, um, and you call them, they have their own terms. So everyone that you talk to when you pick up the phone and you call are gonna, you know, a lot of these people that you guys are talking to, they actually get a percentage of whatever they're collecting from you. So it's in their best interest to get as much as they can out of you. Okay,
Wow.
so try to be as nice as you can, because they are actually gonna help you if you are nice. But if
Mhm.
you're not nice, they can also be very difficult and choose not to help you guys. Okay. So again, don't admit the debt. Tell them that, you don't have the money, but you're trying to do the best thing that you can do, and you're calling in good faith, and you're trying to see what you could do, and you're trying to get a deletion letter. Don't admit anything, though. Okay, I want to be very clear. Don't admit the collection because you have never signed a legal contract with them. So they probably don't have any proof that even belongs to you. Now, if they wanted to, yes, there's a way, depending on the amount, they could take the time and effort to prove it. But a lot of times, depending on the amount, it's not worth it for them.
Wow.
So,
So you talk about the if you don't admit it, let's say you ran my credit, we have these collections. If I don't call them, how can I get the collection deleted? If I call them, they know I'm at fault. So what would be your strategy behind that?
so you're not admitting to it. You could. This is what I say. Hey, creditor XYZ, I recently ran my credit report. I saw you on there. I was calling to see what this is about. I'm calling in good faith. I don't have any money, but I'm trying to see what I can do because I'm looking to get a deletion letter. Now, I never once admitted that was mine,
Yeah.
but I did show that I want to that I want to address it and I wanted to take care of it.
Wow. Okay. And then normally they'll haggle you, I guess, back and forth, back and forth. Do
Absolutely.
all companies have deletion letters, or some people say like I know Verizon? I feel Verizon does not. Like the utility companies, I feel like they won't even mess with you.
So legally, if it's the original creditor and it is, a debt that you owe, they just can't legally delete it. Period. If it's a collection company, because they can't prove the debt, they can delete it, but the original creditor cannot. That does not mean that we cannot get it off of your credit reports.
So what would be the next step if it's the original? Let's say it's Cox, and I forgot to return my modem because I moved, and it just popped up on my bill. What would be your diagnosis?
So they haven't sent it to collection, correct?
No, it's collection. It's on my credit.
So when it's
I see a
collection,
lot.
it's a
I see a
third.
lot of Verizon and
So let's talk
Cox.
about Verizon. So let's talk about, because Cox will sell it to a third party, so that falls in a different category. Okay, but when it comes to Verizon, depending on the dollar amount, in some cases I don't make a recommendation to pay it because it's not going to really help the credit score, and they're not going to delete it. In that case, that would be through credit repair that we would just try to address it. If it's the original, like you said, you saw Verizon on the credit report. I see Verizon on the credit report all the time. Yes, they are reporting people for bad debt, and sometimes they don't sell it to the third party. So the original creditor is reporting the debt, which means legally they cannot report it if the debt is yours. But through credit repair, we can find, some legal law that was broken some way, somehow, and that's the way that we would get it off. Because Verizon is known to break a lot of laws, and we have a lot of them on our
Mm-hmm.
books.
So what makes so when you look at it and you're like, hey, they're not coming off. Is so how do you like? Are you just attacking it legally to get it
Yeah,
removed?
yeah.
Okay.
So we just have to find a law that was broken, because unless that's why you don't ever want to admit the debt. So even if it's a Verizon bill, it's the original creditor. So earlier with the collection, I said you can legally say it's not mine. You
Mhm.
cannot say that to Verizon, but at the same time, you don't have to admit it to Verizon either. So hi, Verizon, Jane Doe. This is FICA. I saw you on my credit report, and I was calling to see how I can, address this, or in good faith, what do I need to do to get this, addressed? Now, I never admit that was mine. I never said anything. If it's fraud, now that's a different story, and then
What?
they have to delete it. But if the Verizon bill is over $2,000, you might have an issue because I'm trying to get a mortgage, right?
Mhm.
So if you have an issue with it, then I need to address it. But a lot of times, I won't even recommend paying it because it's not really going to help the credit score. Only in the event if something helps, that's only time I'm going to make a recommendation to pay something. Like paying a charge off will help your credit score. If it's a revolving credit and it's a charge off, it actually
Ooh, that's
will help.
good. So yeah,
Yeah.
so what's the difference? So what's the difference between paying off a charge off and a collection?
So because the collection is a third party, they actually re-age the debt. When you pay the charge off, it actually reports a zero. So it actually helps boost your credit score up, because previous to the zero being reported, you were using, maybe, let's say your limit was 1,000, but you owe them, let's say, 1,500. Now the way your score is calculated, it's showing that you're using 150% of your available balance. And what did I tell you your balance should be at?
9%.
9%. You're
Correct.
way over. Now that is killing your credit score. And so in that scenario, I would say, let's go ahead and try to negotiate it, because when you negotiate, all you need is, you need it to report zero. It doesn't matter if you pay it in full, because they're not going to delete it anyways. They're the original creditor. So we don't need to. The only time that I make a recommendation to pay a charge off in full would be if you want to preserve your relationship. Okay. So, Min, if you gave me
I
$2,000,
had that MX one.
you know,
You had me suck it up and pay it all off. I paid it all
yeah.
off.
Yeah. So, if I owed you $2,000, man, and I only give you back $500, and I'm coming back to you 3 years later, hey, man, can I have more money? What are you going to say to me?
Yeah. So I want you guys to know, in 2017, when my business collapsed, I owed like almost 5 grand on my Amex card. And FICA was the only one telling me, like, if you want to keep the relationship, pay it off. But when you do, and I had to set up payments with them, and I'm like, if I pay it off, I want you to delete 2017 like it never happened. And this is with American Express. And they did it. So thank you, FICA, for that. I was so nervous. I'm like, dude, it's 4,000. Just let that thing run off. And I would make payments like, oh my God. But the cool thing, they didn't charge me extra interest. They set me up on a plan. It took me 2 years. I paid it off. They removed the delete. It like it never existed. They gave me a new limit a month later
Yeah.
for $5,000. That's the FX I use today. So thank you for
Well,
that.
that's because you showed, you followed through on what you said you were going to do. Everybody deserves a second chance, but if you would have let it go and just offered them $1,000, they'd be like, "Sorry, man, we're never going to do business with you again."
Yeah.
So if there's someone that's important to you, any bank, and all of the big banks should be important, do pay it in full if it matters. I do have to say, Capital One, though, you guys, no matter how many cards you have with them, no matter how many times you negotiate, they're still going to give you another credit card. So you're okay to negotiate with Capital One. They will still
Cool.
give you another card.
So you're talking about charges. So I hear stories. So I've heard urban legends about BK and mortgage lates and getting rid of 30-day lates. What is the chances people are going to remove 30-day late? So we know about charge-offs, we know about collections, right? Charge-offs, there's a high probability to pay it off, but talk to you first. Collections, unless you get a deletion letter. How about late? People are talking about, I hear these like wolf, I call them what's called wolf tickets, right? Because everyone's crying wolf, that these lates can come off. What do you think about these lates?
So I always say it's a 50-50 chance, but I got to tell you, I've been with this company since 2013, and since COVID hit, we have seen more lates come off in these last 3 years than I've ever seen since 2013. So we are seeing more of the lates come off. A lot of the reason is because a lot of banks that said they weren't going to report late or made inaccurate claims owned up to it, and now they see, hey, we told these people that they could not pay this, and we still reported them late, and people are going after them, so they're getting actually lawsuits, and they're getting sued. So they see that, hey, we messed up, and now we got to start like with student loans. I've seen it on mortgages. I've seen more lates come off now than ever. And I also want to say, maybe someone at the credit bureau is trying to be a little bit extra nice because we're going through COVID and all this, crazy stuff happening. People are going through, a lot. And I just feel like, maybe they're just trying to be a little nice to us also. But, things are happening, but I'm still going to, say 50-50. It's not guaranteed. We never know what the outcome is going to be. It all just depends on, at the end of the day, what bank it was, exactly what the situation was, what happened, and did you admit it? Did you admit to being late? Never admit it. You guys call me and I will tell you what to say, okay? Because there are system updates that happen all the time. And if
Mhm,
when you're making a payment with a system update, the payment gets rejected. And because
mhm,
it gets rejected, then sometimes it ends up being late. So there are things that happen
mhm.
that you can that might have happened to you. That's why you don't want to admit it until I actually take a look at the scenario and we see exactly what happened, and then we can um, call them up and give them the proper information and see how we could get it possibly deleted.
Oh, you were talking about when you call. So I hear that you're not supposed to, like, a third party is not supposed to call on the consumer's behalf. How do you guys get around that, or what do you guys? How do you guys deal with that?
So we do have attorneys if they're harassing you or calling you that can help you get addressed with that. Yeah, but in some cases it is legal.
Because I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I had someone call me one time. Like, I just had someone just help me out. Hey, can you call this? And because I don't understand these, like, medical collections, they're like, dude, you don't got to pay back medical. Like, I don't know about all that. And they're like, we can't talk to the person unless it's the person who has the
Yeah.
collection. So
Correct.
so medical collections. I heard the rumor that they're not going to count medical collections anymore.
Yeah, so from my understanding on mortgages, they're really not counting it, but that doesn't mean that it's not. So when we say it doesn't count it, you're not using the debt against them. I know that that's already happened, but are they not going to use the points against them? I haven't seen that happen yet, because even in your stimulator, if you go in there and you remove it, it actually does improve the credit score. you know but here's the other thing with medical, because of HIPAA and some other laws, again, they can't legally prove anything. So medical collections are pretty easy 9 out of 10 times to get addressed.
You know, there's so much you can get addressed. So typically, credit repair, it's all case by case, like you said, on what's going to come off, what's not going to come off. Correct?
Absolutely. And another thing I want to say is, before COVID, we were doing files in about 12 weeks. Now it is taking a little bit longer. The credit bureaus are very delayed in replying to us. There's other strategies we're taking to help speed up the process, but it is taking a little bit longer. So if you are looking to purchase a house in 2023, do not wait till October, November, or December of 2023 to reach out to us. This is the time. You need to do it now, right now. Have us review your credit. I mean, like Min was saying, interest rates are getting better. I mean, it's always a good time to buy a house. There is never a wrong time to buy a house. Period. Period.
Walk me through how you take a client from start to finish. So when someone signs up with you, what's the first couple steps that happen?
So the first step is I look at the credit report. I'll have them, either you guys will send it to me or their lender, or I'll have them sign up for Credit Karma. Once I go into the credit report, I see, what needs to be done. I'll go over it with them. And it's a two-way street, so I can only do what I can do. But if you're still late, or you're still having new collections, or you're not paying your credit cards, or not getting credit cards like I told you to get, it's a very structured program. I tell you exactly what to do and not to do. If you don't follow the directions, it doesn't work, period. I can't do it on my own. There's things that are required, like paying your bills, I said, right? So I had a client that came through credit repair, and we cleaned up everything, and they stopped paying their bills, and they said, oh, well, I thought I didn't have to pay my bills. And I was like, really? When did we discuss that? Because you still are responsible for paying your bills. Just because you're going through credit repair doesn't mean you stop paying your bills. um, then what we do is every 65 days we need an updated utility bill from you, and we're just going to monitor your credit from then on. And then every 65 days we're writing to the credit agencies on your behalf, fighting laws. We have over 200 laws that we can use. And you get regular updates as you need them, and the lender gets
An app to get updates, or how do people get updates on, like, if something's falling off or not?
through credit. So I have them sign up through Credit Karma, and then we're monitoring that. And as things are happening, we let them know.
Okay, cool. Is there, do they have to sign up for a credit monitoring service, or just Credit
Mm,
Karma?
Credit Karma, it's free and experience. I don't think. I mean, there are some agencies that'll make you pay for that stuff, but I mean, why pay when you can have it free? You're already paying for the service, you know?
Correct. That's cool. Anything else that you would any other advice you would prepare for us to prepare people to prepare their credit for 2023?
I mean, I just want to say taxes are coming up, guys. And instead of going blowing your money for crap that you don't need, save it for a deposit for your first home or your second home or your third home. I mean, banks are buying up homes. People are buying up homes. You know, why is this happening? You know, take advantage of the market. That's all I'm going to say. You know, save that money, save for the down payment. Don't spend on things that you don't need. And all the other advice that I gave, you know, those are the best things that you could do. Reach out to Min, you know, he'll run your credit. We'll take a look at it for you. We'll get you set up. So, you know, for 2023 in 6 months to a year, whenever you're ready, we'll get you on the path. We'll tell you exactly what you need to do.
If you are interested in credit repair and getting your credit worked on before the end of 2023, before rates get pulled back so you can buy your home, you can go ahead and reach out to her. I will leave her information in the description below. You can go to Instagram under FICA with FICA. She's with Brighter Future Credit Consulting. Go ahead and reach out to her if you are interested in improving your credit to buy a home in 2023. And once again, guys, we want to thank you for watching and thank you, FICA, for coming on. Hopefully, we'll have you come on again soon.
I
Not
would
wait
love
like a
that.
year. So we want to end all our episodes with our attitude is gratitude. Without you, there is no us. So thank you so much. And thank you, FICA, for coming on.
Thank you.